And now, with that out of the way, I'm going to introduce our guest speakers for today. Mohamed Abdi and Josh Binda, two of the youngest elected officials in Washington state history. Mohamed Abdi is a proud Muslim Somali African American leader born in a Kenyan refugee camp and raised in Tukwila in Seattle, Washington. He has been an advocate for racial and social justice since high school, where he served as a board representative for the Tukwila School District at the age of 16. As an intentional servant leader, his approach to community work is it's through a solid social justice and racial equity lens. Throughout his leadership experiences, he prioritizes youth mentorship and at the Somali Health Board. Mohammed has received numerous accolades for his work, including the Mental Health America 2021 Media Award for his documentary Surviving the Movement, which explores the connection between global, national, and local events, as well as how it takes a toll on our personal mental health and collective mental health, for that matter. He has also served as an organizer with the City of Seattle's Immigrant Family Institute Advisory Board and has been actively involved in lobbying bills on homelessness, immigration, and education since the age of 14, as he is described eloquently well. As the eldest of 8 children and a first-generation college graduate from the University of Washington in Seattle with a major in American Ethnic Studies, did I get that? Okay. And a minor in diversity. Mohammed embodies resilience and determination. Currently at 24, I don't know, are you 24 right now or? Okay. At 24, he holds the distinction of being the youngest councilman in Tukwila city history. So let's give him a big round of applause for that. And he takes great pride in serving the city that shaped him into the man he is today. And now, JB, your turn. Josh Binda is a first-generation African-American who was born and raised in Providence, Rhode Island. His family is originally from the West African country of Liberia, from which they escaped a civil war as refugees after winning an international lottery that brought them to the United States. Shout out to the motherland and our parents, obviously. Josh later moved to Linwood in 2012 and has been a resident ever since. As a newly elected council member in 2022 at age 21, Josh became the youngest African-American ever elected in Washington state history and one of the youngest politicians in the nation currently. Josh's entrepreneurial spirit and passion for public speaking led him to establish his own speaking business, Josh Binda Speaks, LLC. Through his venture, he has been able to inspire and empower individuals from all backgrounds. He has completed 2 speaking tours in which he has spoken to more than 30,000 students in order for him to inspire the next generation of leaders. In addition to his success as a public speaker, Josh is also a self-published author of his debut book, Breaking Barriers, which I have, by the way. It's a really great book. I didn't bring with me today, but it's a really great book. It's a self-help book meant to help others break through barriers in their own lives to achieve success. His work has been widely recognized and acknowledged, earning him prestigious awards such as the 425 Business 30 Under 30 Top Business Professionals of 2022, and Forbes Magazine's 30 Under 30 nomination for 2023. Wow, you got back-to-back nominations, bro. Preach about it. Beyond his professional achievements, Josh is known for his unwavering commitment to social and racial justice as a renowned activist. He was previously the chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission for the City of Linwood. He continues to use his unique lenses and personal experiences to advocate for those who need voice and representation. So let's give our panelists a big round of applause. A big Highline welcome. All right. So first question to the both of y'all is, can you introduce yourselves by telling everybody in the crowd your name, your pronouns, and what do you do for your living, such as roles and responsibilities? Either one of you could start.
Yes, I'll start. My name is Mohamed Abdi. For those that don't know, I'm really honored and grateful to be in the space with you all today. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to want to be a part of this week's Unity Through Diversity series this week. We're doing the Breaking Barriers theme today. And before I start, I go by he, him pronouns. Like I said, really nice to meet you all. And I wanted to give a special shout out to Mahad And I want to give a special shout out to Fui right there. Please raise your hand over there. She's amazing. If it wasn't for Mahad and Fui, I would not have gotten this opportunity. I'm really grateful to be here with my brother Josh. You know, he's been a amazing brother and great. And I want to give a special shout out to my brother D-Boy right there. D-Boy, put your hands up. Put your hand up right there. That's my brother right there. He's my plus one for today. You know, my brother came in and wants to support me today. So just wanted to give a special shout out to you guys because, this is big. I'm always centered around gratitude, and Fui and Mahad and giving me opportunity is is helping me propel my public speaking endeavors. This is something I love to do. I've been doing this for about 14, 13 years since I was 14. I'm 27 now. This is big. So I enjoy being in space like this, try to bring some energy. I'm hoping that you guys could, take away some dope stuff from us, things that we could hopefully learn from you guys, if we could chit chat after this. But yeah, and what I do for a living right now, I work for a nonprofit organization called Puget Sound Sage. I am their local elected leadership institute program manager. So my job essentially is to help other BIPOC elected officials such as myself and Josh all across the Washington state as best as I can and bring them together and support them mentally, emotionally, but also help give them the technical support that they need, to lobby bills, pass policies. So it's just crazy because my part-time job, both of us were council members. Well, you guys will learn a little bit more about there's a lot of things, context that you guys don't know, being a council member that we're gonna love to share with you today. But my full-time job, aside from being a council member, is working for this nonprofit organization, just trying to help BIPOC elected leaders all across the state. So I've had the job since January, and it's been a great job. Love being in the community, love doing service, and then I love serving my role as a Tooele City council member. I came here when I was 5 months as an infant. So, Tooele's my home. Raise your hand if you guys been to Tooele. I expect almost everybody here. Okay. Yeah, Tooele is a big popular city. We have the South Center Mall. So our nighttime population is 20,000, but our daytime population is 150,000. For those that don't know, because of the mall and the commercialized business that we have in South Center Tacoma. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me, and my job that I do. So yeah.
Is it on? Okay, perfect. Well, hello everybody. Let me introduce myself. My name is Josh Binda. He, him is the pronouns I go by. I'm currently 24 years old and currently with like Mo here. I'm a city council member in Linwood, Washington, up north. I got elected about 3 years ago when I was 21. I'm 24 now, so I've been in office for a little bit. I'm also currently running for Congress in my district and over there, so it's a whole nother endeavor that I'm taking on. But other than that, and I think this is really interesting because I think this kind of plays into the whole breaking barriers thing of why I think a lot of young people don't get involved when it comes to this type of work of politics is you guys will get to know government doesn't pay well, especially at the local level. And so a lot of older people can tend to get these roles and get these positions because they're already retired, made their money, and are already set. Whereas young people like us that are building our career, that are building our way into the world, in order to serve in these positions, we have to work another job. We have to have another thing. This isn't gonna pay the bills alone. And some of the work that I do, other than a city council member, is I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I run my own public speaking business. It's called Josh Binda Speaks LLC. Started about a year ago, and I speak from anywhere from colleges to high schools, elementaries, universities, in-state and nationally. And a big goal of mine is to continue since I was able to accomplish what I did a couple years ago when I became the youngest elected BIPOC elected official in state history. I thought it was really important to make sure that I can inspire more people that look like us to know that they can do it too and they can be the change. And so last year, this in December, I self-published my first book as well, called Breaking Barriers, which is titled this series as well. And it's a self-help book. So if you want it, make sure you can find it on Amazon. um, but yeah, other than that, I do a lot of entrepreneurship work. I run my own business. I'm a self-published author. But before that, I actually was in the aviation industry. I was an integration engineer at Blue Origin, which was working on rockets and stuff like that for a little while, and also worked at Boeing. So before I got into entrepreneurship, I got into that. And I'm really excited to be here today because I think in general, a lot of us young people, when we talk about how do we navigate our paths into this world and what does that look like? And for some of us, I'm a first generation African American then my family came to this country. There wasn't a pathway forward. There wasn't a yellow brick road I had to follow. And a lot of us first generations are in the place where we have to pave those roads for ourselves. And so most of the time we're breaking barriers every single day that we're out here in the world. We're going after what our dreams look like because there isn't that path set up for us. So today's going to be a really cool conversation. Me and Mo have done a lot of great work together in terms of doing pianos and doing stuff like that as well. So I'm excited to be here with him and Mahad and the Highline staff for inviting me to come down here. And hopefully you guys can walk away with some sort of hope, encouragement, and feel empowered to know that right now where you guys are at, being at the age you guys are at, you guys aren't too young to start paving this road for yourself. And this is the beginning of it. And this is what it looks like and how to do that and be authentic about it. I think the hard part that we fall into as well, it's hard to be authentically Black and predominantly known historically white spaces, which is what a lot of these spaces are. So how do you stay authentic to yourself? How do you stay authentic to your purpose? How do you be who you are and continue to break barriers and go forward, even though you don't know what that looks like in your own lineage? This is going to be a really cool conversation, so I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you guys for allowing me to be here, and hopefully you guys have questions we can answer as well to make sure you guys walk away with the most out of it today.
We appreciate you both coming here today and partaking in this conversation. So the next, which leads me to the next question: what made you decide to run for elected office? Either one of you could start. Once again.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna ping pong it back and forth. So, so great question, Mahad. Appreciate you, curating all these dope questions. I want to say how I basically decided to run for office. I'm gonna take you guys back a little bit. First of all, raise your hand if you guys are not from this country. You guys are here as an immigrant, okay, refugee. Love that. So that's for those that are on Zoom, it's pretty much the whole entire room. Everybody's is not from here, and so we have that similarity, that in common. And so for me, like Josh has mentioned earlier, I'm not from here. I was born in Kenya, Nairobi, in a refugee camp. Came to America in '97. When I was 5 months. The first city I moved to was Tacoma, Washington, as I mentioned to you guys earlier. And growing up as an immigrant, like many of you are here today, I had to, go through some of the challenges and adversity with, the culture barrier and then the language barrier. Raise your hand if English is not your first language. Pretty much everybody. And so, that was a struggle. I'm sure, like for many of us, it was a struggle for me. All I ever wanted growing up was to really be accepted amongst my peers. Being a young student, I was a very witty kid. I always wanted to speak out in class whenever the teacher would say, "Hey, who wants to read this line?" You guys remember when the teacher would read the book, she'd be like, I'll take hands, who's gonna read this and this and that. I wanted to be that kid. I really wanted to be that kid, but I struggled speaking the English language. And so I always was a little bit antisocial growing up because of that, the insecurity of not being able to speak the language fluently. And then, the cultural barrier, like assimilated to American society, our parents, they fled away from war and trauma and oppression to give us a better life than they had. And, going through, the immigration system, passport, getting a green card. I had a green card majority of my young life, just trying to go through my identification process. And I just remember seeing growing up how my parents used to be pushed to the side just because they didn't know how to speak the English language well. That was something that always stood out to me as a young kid. Like I seen discrimination, them being discriminated just because, like I said, they don't know how to speak the English language well. I'm sure like many of our loved ones, guardians, parents, I remember these things vividly. And I was like, wow, it's quite a challenge, to really be growing up in this society. And so growing up, I made an effort. My mom ended up having 7 more wonderful kids. I'm the oldest of 8 kids. And I feel like leadership stems from the house. You know, I wanted to be a role model. I wanted to set an example for my younger siblings. Got my butt whipped multiple times, so I could make sure I set it straight and narrow. You know, just because I had these young ones looking up to me. And growing up in second grade, I loved non-fictional books. So I looked up to black leaders like Dr. King, Malcolm X, Coretta Scott King. Raise your hand if these are some of your heroes growing up. Raise your hand. Okay, we got some people. Okay, Muhammad Ali. Anybody Muhammad Ali? Rosa Parks. Okay, there you go. Harriet Tubman. Yep. So you know, I love being my past, you know, black heroes, you know, in school. That was probably one of my favorite subject matters. I loved history, loved social studies, and so I made it a point to myself. One, my name is Muhammad, so most common name in the world. You know, growing up, I was either Muhammad 1, 2, or 3, or Muhammad ABC. And it was hard to stand out, you know, in school. And I when I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, like, why'd you name me Muhammad? She's like, I wanted to name you after Prophet Muhammad, you know, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you know, in our religion. And I was like, you know what? My name has meaning. You know, like I was named after another leader, a profound leader, you know, in our religion. So I was like, you know, I'm a firm believer that there's signs around us that, you know, things happen for a reason. Raise your hand if you're a firm believer that things happen for a reason. If you believe in the, you know, the universe, religion, it could be spirituality, whatever the case is. So I believe in these things, you know. So I was like, okay, maybe there's something there for me. So I was really super involved in all leadership roles in middle school and high school. I started off 5th grade being a peer mediator, helping families walk across the street with my little construction vest. Raise your hand if you ever done that. You know, growing up. No, yes. Some of us, okay. I got one of them. Okay, I see you with the glasses. Okay, yes. So, anything I could do to fit into the school, middle school. I was one of those 8th grade mentors trying to help, the upcoming 6th grade students. I love nothing brought me more happiness than just help people. I figured that out at a very young age. Like I just love to say hi to people. Try to be positive every encounter I could. Anybody, whoever I come across. And so, high school, I did track, I did cross country. I did ASB. I was like, I did school board representative, kind of like ASB president. I was the varsity captain of the basketball team. I did all the assemblies. I was telling folks to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, telling them what their food was. Like, not having an older sibling and not having that true mentorship growing up, I just needed to pave the way. You know what I mean? And I come from one of the most diverse cities in the entire world, Tooele, Washington. Foster is one of the most diverse schools ever. Like, white people are actually the minority at my school. So there's nothing but people of color. So I just learned how to get along with everybody, all the little different tables, whether it be my black folks, my Asian folks, my Indian folks, my Nepal, Filipino, Thai folks, whatever it may be, like that was my upbringing. How can I love being around people. And so my biggest dream at that time in high school, I graduated 2015, not to age myself, was to be the first to graduate college in my family. And I'll never forget, I had a UW Husky license plate in my wall. And I told myself, I want to manifest to graduate, from UW. Raise your hand if you believe in manifestation. Raise your hand if you believe in manifestation. Raise your hand if you know what manifestation is. Okay, love it. So obviously manifestation, just to kind of break it down, is the belief to see something and you see yourself, getting there one day. You know what I mean? You believe that your goals and your aspirations, that they can one day become into fruition. So I was really, really big on manifestation, I'm a hoarder too. I keep all my souvenirs, all my things growing up. So, but this one thing, I didn't have nothing on my wall. I wanted to be a Husky one day. I applied for University of Washington, Seattle, and sadly, my high school year, after doing all these leadership things, having a 3.0 GPA, I didn't get to go to University of Washington, Seattle. And that was very discouraging at the time, but I ended up chasing my vision to go to Seattle Central Community College. And growing up, there was always a stigma that community college was not, you weren't good enough or you weren't smart enough to go to community college. Raise your hand if you guys ever like, if that was ever a stereotype, growing up in school, right? Yeah, you see, y'all feel what I'm talking about. Like, growing up in my school, being an avid student at Foster and being a student there and being an AP honors English student, there was the stigma, the stereotype that if you went to community college and you didn't go straight to university, you weren't good enough. You weren't smart enough. And I don't know why that was the case. So being able to witness it firsthand. Go to Seattle Central Community College. My God, like in Highline is a phenomenal community college. I almost went to I almost there Head Start Running Start over here. Community college changed the trajectory of my life. Community college changed the trajectory of my life. One, I was a better student than what I was in high school. Had a better GPA. I got to build my relationships with my teachers a lot better. I got to be a part of like their Somali Student Association clubs, their Muslim Student Association clubs. I was just as involved as I was in high school. And so being community college was very pivotal for me. I enjoyed my time there. I was a better student for it. It made me better. And then I applied for 2019 to University of Washington, Seattle during the pandemic. Raise your hand if you hate the pandemic. Okay, I love that. Almost everybody here hate the pandemic. Some of us were pandemic graduates. Yeah, me and Fufu, we were talking about that earlier. You know, being pandemic graduates, and I was able to, after 2 years of just doing online schooling, and we all were affected in some way. I became the first to graduate college in my family. So really happy with that. That was an honor, and for me, that's still to this day the biggest accomplishment I ever made, because I want to validate my parents' sacrifice. All those, my parents, like Josh said earlier, being first generation, students. Raise your hand if you're a first generation college student right now for your family. Quite a few guys. That's awesome. Just want to validate my parents' sacrifice, validate the people that that came before me, all my Somali people, my Muslim people, wearing all these different intersectionalities, wearing these different hats. And so when I graduated college, my aunt and some of my community constituents, they're like, Mohamed, like, what's next? What do you want to do? And I was like, I'm not quite sure, but I love being in community. I love helping people. I love putting smiles on people's faces. That is my calling. That is my purpose. My aunt was like, Mohamed, you qualified to run for office. You should run for local government. I was like, the first thing that popped into my head was I old enough? I did the research, and I figured out that you could run as early as, like 18, 19? So, yeah, for those that don't know. And I was like, wow, that's okay. And growing up, I did a lot of lobbying, since I was 14. I went to Washington, D.C., got to work with State Senator Maria Kentwell, Patty Murray. Raise your hand if you guys ever lobbied bills, went to Olympia, state capitol. Awesome. Okay, great. Yep. And so I was super involved civically. I was very civically involved at a young age. And so I was like, you know what? I'm 24, but I've been giving back since I was 14. When I knock on people's doors, they're going to probably look at my age and look at me and be like, what qualifications do you have, Mohamed? What good could you do for us in our community? But little do people know, like people, me and Josh, we've been doing this when we were young. And so I felt like I was more than qualified, you know what I mean? Because typically okay, I have a question for all you guys. When you guys think of someone that's in office, who do you guys usually think of? Let me hear some answers. When you think of someone in office, what is the stereotype? What is the imagery that y'all think of? Old? Okay, what else? White. Thank you. Those are the two most common answers. Thank you, guys. When you think of someone in office, you think of someone older and white, because that is the stigma. That is the narrative. Became the imagery, right? And so when I decided I wanted to run for office, I wanted to change the narrative. I wanted to represent. We come from such a diverse community in Des Moines and Tukwila and SeaTac. Why is it that people that look like us are not in office? These are the questions that I had. I said, you know what? I had to look myself in the mirror and say, you know what? Maybe I gotta be the one to bridge that gap. Start somewhere. And so I threw my hat in May of 2021. I graduated June. I did 6 months of long campaigning, and Josh, I'm sure we'll go in a little bit into that. How hard campaigning is, and that was really difficult. Like building a campaign manager. Putting yourself out there. It's very vulnerable position to do this. I remember I had one time I door knocked. I had a gentleman in my community. He had a gun. Standing outside of his porch. I don't know what made him think that was a threat. I don't know what it was, my presence or whatever it may be. But the gentleman. Sometimes guys, like when you're a person of color, like many of you guys here, and let's say you guys want to run for office. Man, you are gonna have sometimes some no's. You're gonna have some people that don't even look in your direction, don't even want to give you the time. Like I said, I was fearful one time. I seen a gentleman with white gentleman, older guy, had no shirt, had a gun out. I don't know why, but these are things that we have to go through sometimes. You know what I mean? We'll go into a little bit later. The discrimination, the hatred. And so I had to push through all that, because I had loved ones around me. For those that actually don't know, fun fact, Mahad was actually door knocking during my campaign. He door knocked almost every day since day one. Was there the day I got elected. There was the day that when we did the when we got to see the polls and I was winning 60% against the person I was going against. And so yeah, 2021 will always be a fulfilling time for me. So fast forward to November 2nd, never forget this day. After 6 months of long, hard work, campaigning, everything like that, I became the youngest council member in Tukwala's history. Yeah, yeah. And so that was great. And I just wanted to make a difference for my Tukwila community. We come from such a diverse community. I want to make a difference in my culture, being Somali, being black, being Muslim. I want to be a role model for the young generation because I know how important team voice is. Could we all agree that team voice is very important? Could we all acknowledge that youth voice is very important? Could we acknowledge that we matter? So yeah, we deserve a seat at the table, right? And so I wanted to break that barrier. You know what I mean? Today's theme is breaking barriers. I wanted to break that barrier. I was able to break barrier by graduating college. I was able to now break barrier by being the youngest, Somali, Muslim, black, person in Tukwala's history to represent our folks. And so it has been such a joy and a fulfilling role to be in. And I know we'll dive in a little bit more what that work looks like, but that's what made me run for office. I want to make a difference. I wanted to leave a legacy, and I truly want to make impact. I'm not what you call a superficial person. I don't do things just for hey, bye. I truly like to connect with human beings. I like to truly make a difference and see what are your needs, what are your issues, what are your challenges, and how can I meet you there with them. How can I help bridge that gap for you? So like I said, I'm thankful. God is good. God is great. God is good all the time. God is good all the time. And all the time, God is good. Okay, I was hoping y'all say that. God is good all the time? Yes. And all the time. Okay, there you go. Okay, so yeah, thank you, Mahad. So that's, yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, yeah. So to answer the question, my journey to politics looks really different. I say this all the time. I'm really not a politician. I really don't consider myself a politician. Even now, me being in office for the last 3 years. Originally, like I brought up earlier, my family immigrated to the United States in the late 1990s. We're escaping a civil war in our country, Liberia. They're slaughtering our people. And basically, my family came here with nothing but the clothes on their backs. And so I was originally born in the late 1999 in Providence, Rhode Island. That's where I grew up for the majority of my life. I'm on the East Coast. I didn't come out here to Washington State until I was about 15 years old. So I grew up in the East Coast with my 3 siblings. I was a single mom of 4 at the time, and I'll be honest with you guys. We did not have money. We did not have, there's times we had our lights turned off. There's times we struggled to have food on our table. There's a lot of adversity I faced growing up. There's a lot of gang violence where I was at. A lot of drug dealers that look stereotypical type of things you see in the projects where I grew up. And so I'll be honest, me being honest strictly, me growing up, I wasn't always the best kid on the block. I was getting in trouble. I was a troublemaker. Got in fights at school. Got in things happen. Not because that's who I was, but that was because that was part of the environment that I grew up. And so when I was about 15 years old, my mom thought it'd be good for me to get a change of scenery. So I moved out to Washington State here with my dad. Went from being in the area I was going at with all predominantly black and Latino people to moving up to Mukilteo, Washington. I don't know if you guys know where any of you guys know where Mukilteo, Washington is. It's up north. Probably haven't heard of it. Small town. It's probably one of the little small white towns you'll see up in the area. So you can only imagine the culture shock that I faced going from where I came in the East Coast to out here. So I ended up going to Kamak High School up there. Was a star athlete, was a football player and track star athlete at the time. And so that was at that time, that was predominantly my life. There's little glimmers and instances where, I kind of saw, politics come into play. I ran for ASB president my junior and senior year at Snow Tech, where I went. But I kind of did it as a joke at the time. I remember I even ran, my last name's Binda. I think I ran under like a name called Binda, copying Obama, just to be fun, just to be a clown about it. Wasn't taking it too serious at the time. But I ended up getting elected my junior, senior year there at the high school for ASB president. So when I graduated, I'm not gonna lie. I think a lot of us, what we go through, us young people, we kind of go through this identity crisis. You know, we kind of go through, okay, who am I now? All of a sudden, once you graduate high school, you're supposed to know exactly what you want to do the rest of your life. You're supposed to know what college you want to go to. You're supposed to be able to figure out a lot on your own. You're kind of thrown into adulthood. And so for me, I think I started figuring out my passion was really community driven. And where I originally grew up in the projects, we didn't have funding for programs. Our schools were underfunded. We had very poor areas. Our books were from the 90s. We did not have up to date programs or things to help us students. And so when I moved out here and was going to these nicer schools and starting to see the funding they got, started to see the programs that they had set up, it just made me realize how much more people were given to succeed, opportunities people were given to succeed out here compared to where I grew up in the projects. And so once I saw that, I started becoming more passionate. But I want to make sure that each person, no matter where they're from, no matter what background they have, has the same equal opportunity for representation and has the same equal opportunities to succeed through programs and through stuff like that. So I started getting involved in community when I was about 20 years old. Became a pretty activist, I would say. Didn't matter what it was, whether that's humanitarian rights, whether that's civil rights, whether that's community-driven rights. I was always in the forefront of those issues just because that's where I really stood. Even now is where I really stand. Obviously, with everything going on with Israel and Palestine, I made my stance on where I stand on that clear. Where I always stand with the people and what's happening and the slaughtering of innocent lives. I've always been an activist that way. And I told myself when I got into office, none of that was going to change. And so I've been pretty staunch in my beliefs. But so as I started doing community work, I remember one night I went to a city council meeting just to see what was going on, see what they were discussing. And all I saw when I was sitting there was a bunch of old white people at the dais just talking about budgeting and talking about little funding for programs that didn't even matter, for things that didn't even matter. And I'm like, this is our representation. These are the people that are making decisions for us, our generation, for making decisions what's happening. And it seemed like they didn't even know what was going on in the community. Um, so I was about 21 years old at the time. I was a student at UW Bethel. So I was going to UW Bethel. I remember telling my family, I remember telling my friends, I was like, hey guys, and this after through 2020. Through 2020, I was a huge activist in that movement. I was leading protests all across the state, advocating for racial and social justice, advocating for the lack of police brutality, advocating for representation. So I was doing a lot of this community work, doing the protesting. And, I think I always say this, being an activist, being a protester and all that, it's great, but there's only so much you can do from the outside. At the end of the day, the people in these seats, they wield the power, they hold the power, they make the decisions. And so I got tired of just vocalizing what I wanted to change and vocalizing what I thought I wanted to do. So in 2021, I told my parents, I told my friends, I was like, hey guys, I think I want to run for office. And at that time, everybody and their mom was like, Josh, what the hell do you think you're doing? Are you crazy? Like, you running for office, you don't have a degree, you don't have any political experience, you don't have this and that and that. What makes you think this is something you want to do? And I just remember being so adamant. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I don't know what I want to do, but I know this is what I want to do. And so that year, I was a college student, like most of you guys here. I ended up taking a gap year in school. I was like, I'm going to take a gap year this year. And that whole year, I spent running for office. And at that time, I was challenging an incumbent. She was a 20 plus, she'd been there for 20 plus years. She was an older white woman, never lost an election, was well known in the community. And then you had this young 21-year-old African American with no political experience, no degree, thinking he's going to challenge that. So on paper, nobody thought I had a chance. No, everyone thought it was impossible. But I think this goes to speak when you run on who you are, when you put a message out there, when you believe in yourself, and you continue to put yourself out there, eventually people are gonna see that and want that. And so that's what I did for a year straight. I just campaigned, advocated, went to the doors. I faced a lot of adversity. I faced a lot of rejection over and over again. And as you young people, regardless whether that's politics or not, when you go into your field, you start noticing you're going to be told the same things. You're too young. Wait your turn. You're going to face rejection. You're going to face stuff. It happens everywhere, not just in politics, in corporate, in business, and law. There's this thing where people are going to tell you that your age is a reason why you need to wait to chase your dream. It's a barrier. And you have to always constantly prove yourself. And I got tired of proving myself. I felt like I was ready, and I felt like it was what I wanted, so that's what I did. Ran a really hard race, fundraised a lot, got a lot of endorsements, and by the end of it, I proved a lot of people wrong. A lot of people, it was the shock of the state, and won office at the age 21 and became the youngest African American ever elected in Washington State history. After that, and thank you. And I think since then, that's where my real journey began. People think that that's where, like, oh, you got elected office. I was like, I think after that, that's when my real journey in the world began. Once you, and you guys will see this, once you officially do something that the world tells you that's not possible, that people tell you that you can't accomplish, once you do that one time, you start seeing the world differently. You start realizing that at the end of the day, you can do whatever you put your mind to. It doesn't matter if people are for you or against you. It doesn't matter if the world says no. If you say yes and you believe in yourself hard enough, you can do it. And so once I broke through that barrier of doing something where everyone told me, well, Josh, you're too young, it's impossible. Once I saw that and I did it myself, I was like, okay, anything I want to do, I'm going to go after it. So after that, what did I do? I started getting involved again. I started saying, you know what, I want to inspire the next generation. I want all young people to know this is what you got to, like, this is possible. So I started setting up school tours. I started speaking to the youth, going directly to community, going directly to the youth. I was able to speak to I think he said over tens of thousands of students all across the state and the country. Last year, like I said, I self-published my own book, Breaking Barriers. I never thought I'd write a book, guys. I'm not some author. That was something I thought I was capable of doing. I spent 2 years doing it because I really wanted people to see the power within your age and your youth. And that doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter who you are. As long as you have the ability to want to break barriers, which is what the series is called, it's doable. And it might look different for everyone else, but it's doable. And so we're going to get into a lot of that later, but that was kind of my journey to politics and kind of why I've been inspired since then to continue doing the work that I'm doing. And now, again, I'm in a situation, I'm running for Congress right now, challenging another incumbent, being told it's impossible again, and it seems like it's all over again. But that's what's at every stage in life where no one in your life or no one around you or even your family members ever walked is going to seem impossible. That's why you gotta have to be the one to break those barriers to make it possible. And that's an important thing to always recognize. It's always possible. And sometimes, most of the time, us first generation, we're gonna have to be the first ones to do it every time. And that's the hard part, carrying that weight and carrying that, like, that thing that I don't know how this looks like, but I have to be the one to do it. And so, but once you do it one time, you realize you can do it anything that you put your mind to. And so I'm excited to get to the rest of this conversation and talk about what that looks like. So,
And we'll talk about it further. But the next question is, when you make decisions and policies for your respective cities, do you think about the impact that will have on your constituents?
yeah, I think that I think that's the whole reason why I ran for city council in the first place, was because I saw there was a lack of representation and a lack of voices, like people that look like us, that come from our background, that only if you had a certain lived experience, you would be able to understand. You know, when you have a bunch of older white homeowners that know nothing about what it's like to be lower income, know nothing what it's like to be living in an apartment or renting, know nothing what it's like to not have that kind of background. It's when they're making decisions based on your life and they're doing that kind of stuff like that, they're not thinking of you. They're not thinking of the community, the whole community that represents them. So every decision I make, I look at it a lens of the whole community, and I also look at it a lens of people that come from a similar background as me, or just in general as people of color, to make sure that their voices are being put and represented, put to the table. So I say that's a lot about why that how I continue to make decisions I make for the community and for the people that I'm choosing to represent while I'm doing it. And so, yeah, I think of my community. I think of everyone when I'm making decisions every single time, and that's what, as an elected leader, you're meant to do. And so, Mo, I'll pass it to you, and you can answer.
That was a great question on Ma's part. Yeah, so for me, when I'm making policy decisions, I'm always constantly thinking about the community. The reason, there's a reason why they voted for folks like me and Josh, is because when we door knocked and we decided that we wanted to represent them, they thought that we could represent their ideas and their vision and their top priorities, whether that be affordable housing, whether that be, public safety, whether that be, helping, with ownership, small businesses, whatever it may be. And, it's not to do lip service. It's to truly show people that, you know what, like, we truly want to make a difference. We truly want to help you guys out. So anytime I'm, I'm at city council and we're coming up with these big decisions, whether we're making big budgeting decisions, we got to make big decisions that affect youth or affect public safety or our senior folks. Like, I constantly think about my residents and my constituents, in Tukwila, because again, I'm just an extension of them. I'm an extended voice of them, and so I wear that with pride. It's a huge responsibility. You know what I mean? It's nothing to be take lightly. So, I get my packets on Fridays, and I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday to review the agenda that's gonna, come forth, the next week in terms of the council meetings, and try to bring high level questions, high level discussions, there's this saying. I don't know if you guys ever heard the saying before though. There's a saying that if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. Have you guys ever heard that? Raise your hand if you guys ever heard that. If you're not on the table, then you're on the menu. Has anybody ever heard that? Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah. So what that means is, it's like, if we didn't put ourselves in this position to advocate for our people, especially with the lack of representation there is, in politics and local government, then who's gonna advocate for us when we're about to have buildings, potentially have to, not be funded no more, and the displacement. Like, I remember we had a Somali restaurant in Tukwila called Juba, the first ever Somali restaurant. It was made, I want to say, built during the late 90s. They displaced in 2016. And I believe, had there been a Somali person or a Muslim person or someone who cared about the Somali community, for instance, for example, that place would have never probably gotten displaced. That's why representation is very important. We need people that look like us, right, to be at the seat at these tables. Because if they're not, we will lose opportunities. We will lose those that don't have, the best interest at heart for our people. And so that's why I think being in this position that me and Josh in is very, very important, because if we don't advocate for our people, who will? You know what I mean? I'm not counting on, no disrespect, I'm not counting on someone that doesn't know our lived experience to vouch for us, to speak for us. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense? Yeah, like, if our own people is not at these powerful positions, then who could we trust? Who could we lean on to make those differences? So, like I said earlier, like, I had to look myself in the mirror and say, you know what, I want to be that person to make that difference. I love this song that Michael Jackson made, Man in the Mirror. Raise your hand if you guys are Michael Jackson fans. Anybody Michael Jackson fans? Okay. Awesome. You guys like Man in the Mirror? Yeah, so Man in the Mirror is one of my favorite songs. Just an inspiring, motivational song. And like it says, the title itself says itself, best, like, Man in the Mirror. Like, what are you truly going to do to make a difference within your loved ones, you know what I mean, or with your family, or your community, your neighborhood, and I'm a firm believer that leadership looks different in so many different ways. You don't have to just be a leader to run for office or whatever. You could be the leader of a club. You could be the leader of your household. You could be the leader in your neighborhood. You could be a leader amongst your siblings. Right? Y'all agree? Right? Yeah, so leadership comes in many forms of ways. So, like I said, yeah, when we're making big policy decisions, that's what I think about, our people.
All right, I appreciate you both answering that question very, very well. And if you don't mind, we're going to change the flow of the program a little bit because we're running out of time. And
yes,
we're going to get to the question and answer session. So, and now, which will allow our audience to ask some questions to the both of y'all. So, Fui, if you, I see our first participant would like to ask a question. Here you go. You can grab this mic if you like.
Yeah, I can you too, man. Yeah. Yeah, we'll just keep it short for the Q&A. Yeah.
I was just gonna ask you. You say you run for ASB in high school, like, or student government? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, brother. Great question. So I wanted to really be a leader in the student body in high school, being that we come from an immigrant population. Like I said, white people were the minority. So there's people that look like you and I. You know what I mean? It was just you and I. People that like Ahmad, people that look like everybody that's here. And I knew that I had the courage to want to represent them, but it was a competitive process. I had to go up against 10 other people. So I was part of ASB, and I was also part of the school board. So I was advocating for those that needed support in our education system. You know what I mean, for our whole district in terms of where where are we at with our fluency? Where are we at with school lunch? You know what I mean? Are we providing healthy school lunch? Could you guys agree? Sometimes we've had unhealthy foods at our school, right? Unhealthy foods, whatever the case is. So I wanted to advocate for all these different things for the district, for the middle school, for the elementary schools, and the high schools. Just everything that surrounded the youth and education. And so, if had I not been a part of that school body that you mentioned, brother, that great question, I wouldn't even be in office, down the line. I had to learn how to work with my white counter folks. I had that position for 2 years. I was 16. I was there till I was 18, right? And so having folks that make big decisions and listening, it's not easy. You know what I mean? To be in these types of rooms and let older folks make decisions. I mean, I got to impact some decisions. Don't get me wrong, right? But that was my mini city council experience. But I was just much younger. You see what I'm saying? So that experience actually propelled me several years down the line that I knew that I had what it took to be in council. So yes, I was part of student body then, and I joined student body, all types of clubs and unions, Somali Student Association Club, BSU, Black Student Association Club, Muslim Student Association Club, all throughout high school, community college, and at University of Washington, Seattle, because I like being in community, I like being in these spaces, and yeah. So great question, brother.
Yeah, because going to school is very important. Education is important because my cousin Benson, he's at the he's in the University of Washington.
Yeah.
He's probably doing his bachelor's, and my cousin Caitlin, she's doing her bachelor's too. She already did her associate already, but getting a bachelor at UW or anywhere, it's not easy to get in because I don't. When I pay all my uncles, aunties, and my cousins in Renton on Christmas break, I just know I don't want to be the only cousin that drop out of school because all my cousins in school it's pretty much you need to have a bright future ahead of you because you don't want to drop out and lose everything. I want to graduate I want to graduate college because I have been waiting for a very long time to graduate. Next month, I'm looking forward to that. And then when I told Juliet education is important, Lighty McQueen said education is important. I never want to go this way. You never want to drop out you never want to drop out of college or university. You need to keep going to graduate. I'm ready, but not ready for graduation. I am looking forward to graduation. That.
You got it. Yeah, graduation.
I'll tell you more. Today was my really important day. You know why? It's because I attended the board of trustees meeting. All the important stuff. I was all dressed up. I just want because
you're looking sharp, brother. You're looking sharp.
You know that.
Yeah.
Yes. I was gonna say, even though ASB is definitely one route, there's multiple routes. It doesn't always have to be you have to be a part of ASB. I did ASB my junior and senior year. But after that, I didn't do it in college. I didn't do it past that. And yes, what he said, graduating is important. It's something you should do. And also, but technically, I'm still a college student. I still have a quarter left to get my bachelor's, and I got elected, and I started a business. So there's always multiple routes. Whatever that looks like for you, whatever that works for you. Make sure you invest into that and make sure you stay on course to whatever that looks like for you individually as well.
So, my name is Muna. I wanted to ask you both, since you've been elected official, what changes have you seen happen, or a few shifts that you've seen happen since you've taken this role, with your background and experience, and what do you feel like was your biggest contribution in your role?
So far, since me getting elected, I've actually been able to get a couple things, quite a few things passed, to the city that we wasn't that was probably wasn't gonna happen if I wasn't there. I was able to lead the charge in getting scholarships for our youth and seniors to have access to our recreation center. I think we got $25,000 in scholarships funded, a mission that I led in our city that now our seniors and our youth can now go to our recreation centers get if they make a certain level of income, and now can go there for free and have access to that. So that's something that if I was on the council wouldn't have gotten done. And then also I was able to help lead the mission in getting I think we got over $200,000 in funding for mental health conditions now. There are mental health professionals in our elementary, middle school, and high schools now in our city, and that was something that I championed and led. And that was focused on the youth, making sure that our youth having mental health resources and all of that, something that a lot of the older generation overlook and aren't focused on, was something that I was able to really make sure that they're able to see the importance in that and bring people in and advocate for it and eventually get passed. And also was able to get some other things and youth initiatives done and things in our community done, and just the representation that's there. I've had so many people come to City Hall or want to get educated, want to get civically involved because they finally see something that they can relate to and understand. They feel much more safer approaching me and talking to me than going to talk to some a 65-year-old older white person that doesn't relate to them or doesn't understand them. And so just creating that space and creating that availability and understanding. And sometimes it's challenging because you can't be the sole representation of the entire black community or the entire African community. That shouldn't rely on one person. But at the end of the day, that's why we need more people like you guys and stuff like that in these spaces. So not every person that gets in these spaces carries that burden themselves. And so I've been able to champion a lot. I've also been able to give a lot of pushback, things that wouldn't have gone pushed back at all. We had a couple of things that happened to do with decisions when it comes to zoning. When it comes to funding, they would have just thrown more money. They want to throw more money at police, and they want to throw more money at advocating for other things. And me being there at the table saying, "Well, no, I don't. I don't think we could be using our money in other things." And being that pushback and being that voice and that representation, it's been able to do so much and bring more things to the table and bring more discussions to the light that would never have happened if I wasn't elected. So able to get things done legislatively and also being able to bring pushback on things that would have no pushback if we weren't there at the table as well.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, just to finish off Muna's quick question, real quick. Yeah, and then we'll go to you after. Mona, great question. Nice to see you again, Mona. Mona actually gave me an opportunity to speak at her school about a month and some change ago back. So good to see you again. Great question. Yeah, Tukwila, we've been able to do a lot right now. Some people don't know. We're dealing with a huge homelessness, asylum situation going on in Tukwila right now. It's been a regional issue, a state issue, where we have undocumented, folks that are the, people of color, have no identification, no documentation, and they're homeless. And luckily, through the state and the federal government, we're now been awarded, I want to say, $5 million to come into Tukwila to help support the homeless folks. It's a huge issue that's going on right now. You could read up on it on Seattle Times, everywhere. But Tukwila has been we have a very hot hub, unfortunately, with the Riverton Methodist Church in Tukwila. And so there's folks that look like us, parents, young kids, babies that are homeless, sleeping in tents. So for us to finally get this money, this $5 million that's coming in, trickling down, and we're gonna hopefully have more coming down the pipeline, has been a big thing going on to Tukwila. It's probably the biggest news of Tukwila going on right now. And so a lot of my efforts and my focus has been on that, amongst other things. That so much comes in our agenda. We have to, just luckily we gave out scholarship money to some high school students, which is great, on their way to go to college. So we were happy about that. Was able to read upon many students. And instead of giving scholarship money to two particular winners, we wanted to divide it up to all the folks that actually applied. So we got them a minimum of $1,000, you know what I mean? And some of the folks that really won, we got them upwards more than 1,000, and that was just, I didn't want, when I was part of that process, I didn't want only two students to get the bulk of the money, Everybody's worthy. Everybody matters, and, many of us, raise your hand if you guys do FAFSA. FAFSA, low income guys. Yep. You know, without FAFSA, I wouldn't even graduate college. I wouldn't even go to college. Period. I'm being honest with you, because I didn't want debt. So you know, scholarships, helping the senior citizens, public safety, and like I said, the homeless crisis going on at Tukwila. If you guys ever get a chance to look into that, that's what we've been really been supporting out right now. So yeah, we're really happy with the progress we're making. So great question, Mona. Thank you. Appreciate it. You have a question?
It's working? Okay. So you have a documentary?
I do have a documentary.
How's making that?
Yes, great question, brother. What's your name, by the way? Ali. Wow, nice to meet you, Ali. My grandfather's name is Ali. Back in the pandemic, as I had all you guys raise your hands, if you guys hate the pandemic just like I did, you know, earlier, I told myself, what is something that I could do that I will never get the chance to do later on? And I was like, you know, just like Josh, who's really dope. You know, he got a chance to do a book. That's really aspiring. You know, really dope for him to do a 2-year process doing that. So for me, I was like, I want to do something powerful, but I want to see. I want to know what is something I could do now rather than later. And many of us, we were quarantining, right? You know, quarantining at the house, not having much to do. You know what I mean? I see my brother D-Boy right here. He's a powerful guy in the media industry. Also a model. And I told myself, Muhammad, like I have many dreams outside of just being organized, being a leader of the community. What can I do? So I thought to myself, documentary, right? And I want to depict and I want to spread light on mental health. Raise your hand if you think mental health is important. Thank you. Wow, everybody. That was with quickness right there. Mental health is very important. And I remember back in 2020 when we had the protests going on for Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. This was very traumatic for us to see, right? You know, on our screens. You know what I mean? How we were so desensitized to it, like it was so normalized. Police brutality. You know, people dying in the hands of just hatred, discrimination, racism. And I told myself, it's a taboo subject in our Somali community. Mental health is a taboo subject in our black community. We sometimes think if we need help, we're deemed as crazy, or we need God, we need the Bible, we need the Quran, you know, but we need more than that. You know what I mean? That's not all the answers. You need to vent. You need to talk to some loved ones. You need to be in safe, healthy spaces. And so I took a couple leaders, a couple organizers, about 8, 9, and I was able to ask them a series of questions of where we were at the state of 2020 during the pandemic with the protests, but also how can we recover. How do we cope with mental healthness? So some of the key themes was mental wellness. You know, check on your loved ones, working out, having better sleep schedule, building connections. You know, I mean, we were losing connections during the pandemic, right? Right? We could agree, right? Because we were quarantined. We weren't talking to amongst one another. We lost that connection. I forgot how to talk to people. You know what I'm saying? At one point, because of the pandemic, right? So I wanted to instill inspiration and empowerment and hope and belief. And then luckily, I had a mentor who actually advocated for me with Mental Health America, the biggest mental health organization in America, in D.C. And I was able to win an award for my documentary film. So, yeah, that was cool. Yeah. Amongst Netflix filmmakers and all that. So my thing to you, Ali, and everybody here, you could wear multiple hats. You could do more than one dream. You could be a student, you could be an author, and you could be a filmmaker. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I learned a few years ago, that I could wear all these hats. So great question, Ali. Yeah. And oh yeah, by the way, it's called Surviving the Movement, and it's on YouTube. So any of you guys can look it up. Surviving the Movement. It's only 9 minutes. It is a documentary, short documentary. I would love for you guys to get a chance to watch it. And if you guys have feedbacks, leave in the comments. So thank you, brother.
And then this one's for Josh. So I grew up in Linwood too for a little in high school. I remember you saying it was really white there, kind of.
Can you hear me? So even though I lived in Linwood, I actually went to high school in Mukilteo.
Oh, right.
Which is Kamiak High School. But Linwood's a little more diverse.
Yeah, because I was thinking in my head, I was like, kind of, but so you went to a high school in Mukilteo.
Yes.
But how'd you like Linwood?
So that's the thing. I think growing up, because I was a student in Mukilteo, and I was just at the area. That was just where I was at majority of my time playing sports or just being involved. I wasn't as involved in the Linwood itself community until after high school, and I started realizing the lack of representation when I was going to the city council and seeing that even though Linwood was diverse, we had an all-white old council, and I started being aware of how the city operated and how decisions we're making weren't going towards programs, towards funding, to black-owned businesses or people of color or organizations that support people that look like us and come from our background. So it wasn't until because a majority of my high school experience was in the Mukilteo area, it wasn't until after that I started getting more and more involved in Linwood, and then I joined the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Commission, and then was the chair of that, and then was seeing all these issues and all these things that was happening, and the lack of voice and lack of representation, and that's when I started realizing, okay, I need to be like involved. I need to start finding ways to create the change here because clearly the government body is not representation of the community. And you guys will notice that everywhere, not in just every city, you'll see the governing body 9 times out of 10 is not reflective of the community, of the people in the community, of the decision in the community. A lot of these people got elected years before we were even able to vote, and we had no say. And now because they've been in there, when you're already in office, the easiest thing to do is stay in office. This is incumbency thing. And so you have people there that have been in some of these positions for decades or over a decade or so that no longer represent the current state of the community, but because they got elected at the time they did, they're the ones that are making decisions for you. And so once you realize that and you start seeing that, I think it's easy to say for me, once I saw that in Linwood, instead of just complaining about it or making something like that, I'm like, no, if they're not gonna make decisions for us that reflect on us, I'm gonna go ahead and be that. And I know Mo probably had a similar experience in Tequila wanting to run and be the change there, and he did that same thing. And I think in Linwood that I was just trying to be that representation there because, and even now as we can see, we have a presidential election coming up, and we have probably options that most people don't want to vote for on both sides, and we have reflective. It's reflective in government as a whole that we're not having the people we want reflect the needs of our communities. And so how do we change that? Is that we have to become it. And so that's what I decided to do was to become it. And that's kind of what made the difference.
I do have one final question for the both of y'all. So, and this is the best one. What is your advice to anybody considering running for office? One of y'all can go.
My advice, get a therapist first because it's definitely going to take a toll on you. Politics can sometimes get ugly. It can get sometimes crazy. And have a strong support group around you. And whether you're getting involved in politics or just going after any endeavor or dream that you want in life, you want to make sure you surround yourself with people that are going to uplift you and get you to see that dream, even sometimes when you don't see it yourself. I think that's really important. Your surrounding and what you put around you, because at the end of the day, some people just aren't capable of seeing things and dreaming as big as you are, or seeing your journey, which they're not meant to see, and that's okay. Sometimes it's your own family, sometimes your close friends, and you have to be able to surround yourself with people that are going to help you elevate, help you grow, help you know that what you're going, where you're going is meant for you. So running for office, I think a key thing I did was surround myself with people that believed in me, because what I did had never been done. There hadn't been a 21-year-old African American ever elected that young, and so I had to surround myself with people that could envision that, even though it hadn't been done previously. And so having a strong support group is important. Um, Making sure that everything that you stand for or run for are your true values. There are a lot of politicians right now that'll sell their values based on the highest bidder or wherever gets them elected, or wherever gets them funded. And once you lose your morals and lose your value, you kind of lose your humanity. And so making sure, I've always told myself, if ever got to the point, I'd rather lose something being everything I am than win something being everything that I'm not. And having that moral ground keeps you always who you are, because it's gonna come to a time in the world we're all face a situation where it could be something you want, it could be something you want to be, but it's gonna come to you, but it's gonna come to you in a version of you that's not who you are, and you're gonna have to make a choice whether you want to sacrifice who you are for something or maintain who you are. and maybe not get something at that time. But if you maintain who you are, that's something you never lose, and something you can always get. But if you sacrifice who you are on the journey of success and the journey of life, when you finally get it and you lose your identity, then what's the point of having it? And so I think that's something, a moral ground is always being able to keep yourself, have your identity, stick to your values, know why you're running or why you're doing what you're doing, and hold that true to yourself, win or lose, was a big mentality. And be prepared to work hard and outwork everyone, especially when you come from our background. You're going to have to work twice as hard as some of these mediocre older white people to get that are in these spaces. That's just what comes with it. You have to work. You're going to have to outwork the system. They're not going to hand you these positions or hand you these careers on a silver platter. That's just not the situation most of the time. You have to go and take it, and you have to go and chase it and go after it harder than the person that you're going up against. And so having that mentality, having that ability to see that and want to do that is important. And then also, just like I say, like I think the big thing, authenticity, and being willing to be capable of seeing it, having a vision, knowing that looks like, and being community driven. Because at the end of the day, if you try to play these games that these other politicians play and do all that, and wherever the money game, the funding and the endorsements and all, if you rely on that and not the community, the moment that you do something that the establishment that they and all that don't like, and they don't support it, and they take away that support, you lose your infrastructure, you lose your backing. And so if you do things from a community-driven aspect and just grassroots and people power, you can take away money, you can take away establishment, connections, but you can't take away people power. And that's really important to recognize as well. So remembering that as well in the journey. And also just, creating a space for yourself mentally where you're still a human first as well is important, because it's so easy to get lost in this field and get lost in life chasing a purpose that you forget who you are sometimes. So always remembering that and having that safe space is important too.
Great question, Mahad, and great words by my guy Josh. I just want to say, my best advice for anybody who's ever interested in running for office: one, believe in yourself. You know what I mean? I know as cliche as that sounds, no one's gonna believe in you more than yourself first. That's how we all got to this, at one point of our lives, how we got to where we are today. You see something in yourself first, that before anybody else can see it for you. So you have to be confident, believe in yourself, fight through adversity, any self-doubt that you may have. Raise your hand if you guys know imposter syndrome. Anybody know what imposter syndrome is? Yeah, I deal with imposter syndrome even while I'm still in the office. Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? No, you are deserving. You are great. You are more than enough. You bring value, impact, everything. And so you have to you come into any opportunity, any space, knowing that I bring something to this room that no one else can, and that's yourself. There's nothing cooler than being yourself. Always be you. And like Josh said, be unapologetically you, because I'm telling you, the world will be better for it. So believe in yourself. 2, take a leap of faith. Throw your hat in there. You know what I mean? If you feel like you want to represent your folks, and you want to fight for their beliefs and their morals and their ideas and their struggles and their issues, go ahead and do it. It is a vulnerable position. It's scary. But I'm telling you, a lot of times, there was one point in time that we all were scared to do something, and then you realize, it wasn't that bad after all. It wasn't that bad. You was nervous, you were scared, but then you got to see, you finally get to see the opportunity right in front of your face, and you're like, you know what? It was not as bad as I once thought it was. And so that's the same thing running for office. I was like, what? I got door knock almost 20,000 doors, and tell people 3 minutes what my name is and how I'm trying to advocate for them. Like, this is scary. And like I said, we've been rejected by many people, but also the love outweighs the hate. There have been so many people that say, you know what? Thank you for running. Thank you for taking the time to listen to what my issues, my concerns are. Have a great team. You want to have a great team behind you. Great brothers. Like, real talk, guys. Mahad was actually door knocking with me since day one. This brother, I wouldn't even be here. Mahad knew that you guys had a Unity series without me knowing, he vouched for me. You see what I'm saying? So there's good people in this world. You know what I mean? There's good people that are around you. You know, your best friend. I see you two came along together right here. You know what I mean? Friendship. You know what I mean? Siblings, loved ones. Like, that's all it takes. You know, a parent, a guardian, whoever it is, to just believe in you. Sometimes the folks that believe in you more than yourself, makes all the world difference. Can we all agree? Can we all agree? It takes that support, guys. Support. So have a great team. Have people that believe in you, that will stand beside you. You know what I mean? When days are good and when days are rough. You see what I'm saying? That will go a long way. And my last advice, you know, outside of running for office, and man, you guys could do anything you guys set your guys' mind to. If me and Josh, being at this young age, and a lot of our folks here, I see you guys, we're roughly the same age, or we're not far apart in age. You know, it's never too late to follow you guys' dreams, guys. It's never too late to follow you guys' dreams. Manifest it, believe in it, write it down. I journal my stuff. I journal a lot. You know what I mean? If you write it down, they say that writing it down is halfway. That's you halfway going into your goal. If you write it down simply, you already halfway made it to your destination. So, I want everybody to stand up real quick. Everybody stand up. I know we gotta get our blood going. Everybody stand up 2 seconds. Everybody stand up 2 seconds. I'm gonna say something, and I need you guys to say it back with me. Can we do that? Can we do that? Okay, we all agree this has been a great day, right? You guys about to enjoy some sunshine after this, right? Okay, so I need you guys to do me a favor. I need you guys to listen. I want you guys to repeat after me, okay? Because like I said earlier, I believe in manifestation, okay? I want you guys to put one hand up. Put your right hand up. Put your right hand up, guys. Loud and proud. Yeah, there you go. There you go, guys. And I want you to say, I can. And I will. Make my dreams come true. I can. And I will. Make my dreams come true. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for food. Thank you, Maha. Thank you to Highline Community College. Thank you to my brother Bob right there in the video. Thank you to my boy D-Boy. Thank you to Josh. Thank you to my amazing host, Maha. Love you guys. We appreciate you guys. And if we could be any help, we're easy to search and easy to find, okay? So highlight us, okay? Love, peace, and prosperity.
That's right.
Thank you guys.
Yes. And that's a great way to end today's program, Mohamed. I appreciate you and Josh showing up today and to talk about y'all's journeys and how y'all can inspire people to run for office.